My name is Jana'e Johnson. I'm Assistant Athletic Director at Simmons College. I would say I first came out when I was 19, even though I knew I liked girls since I was about 3 years old. But I think at a point in time when I was a kid, uh, I was talking to my next door neighbor, and I was telling her that I liked this girl, and she's like, "Are you gay?" And I was like, "No." And at that point, I knew that being gay had a negative connotation, so I kept it in until I was about 19. And when I was 19, I went to college in Texas, and I played basketball. Basketball was my thing. I've been playing it since I was 8 years old. And I was on the team, and I was doing well. And after the season, my coach actually asked me to be captain next year, so it was going great. And he found out I had a girlfriend. So when he found out I had a girlfriend, a lot of things changed in the dynamic of the team and how he treated me. And he sat me down and he said, "Well, you have an option. You could change your lifestyle or you lose your scholarship." So at that point, I kind of found other options to go to college. And 3 weeks later, I did lose my scholarship. I was kicked off the team, and I had no choice but to transfer. And I actually transferred to Virginia State and finished my undergraduate career there and played basketball there. But the choice of going to Virginia State kind of compromised what I wanted to succeed, or how I wanted to succeed in basketball, just because it wasn't the ideal institution that I wanted to go to, but I was left with no decision. So I think at that point, I put my own happiness before basketball. And I think that had happened. It happens now. It happened in the rest of my undergraduate career, that I put basketball aside for the cause, and trying to make sure that I was happy with myself. So moving on to now in Boston, I think that I've become a better person because of it. I've come to realize that, it's not always going to work out as perfectly as you want it to, but I would say now that I feel a lot more comfortable with who I am, and even how other people view me. And I would just say that for people that feel like giving up, or for people that feel like it's getting too hard, that you kind of have to see the big picture, and you kind of have to see how it all works out at the end, because it did get better for me eventually. I think it changed a lot in my perspective about how I approached life, and how I approached people, and how I approached education in general. I think that I still have this negative connotation when it comes to basketball because of that situation, but it does get better. I remember moving I'm born in California, so I remember at least at 3 years old that I had a crush on the person that was babysitting me when I was like 3. It was a ridiculous age to know that you liked girls, but that was the age. So I'm sure it was before then, but I remember that when I was 3, that was when I liked girls, and I had a crush on everybody since like preschool to kindergarten. So I don't think I experienced too much bullying, just because I was the quote unquote jock. And so everybody just assumed that I was a tomboy. And I think at high school, I was still in the closet, per se, because I just didn't want anybody to know at that point. When I finally came out, it was like right after high school. And I was still unsure about it. I think it was something about college, that the distance of me being away from home, that made me come out even further, even though Texas is not the best place to come out. But yeah, so that's when I finally started dating, and I finally started coming out of my shell as far as being open about it. Funny story. My brother actually found something on the internet. I had left my email open when I was gone after Christmas break, and he found something that I wrote to the person I was dating at the time, and he actually called me when I was in Texas, and he told me that if I don't tell mom and dad, then he will. So he left me with no choice but to call my parents on the phone, because my mom was on her way back from work, and I had to tell her while she was driving, which is not the safest decision. But I told her, and she was very negative to the whole situation, and kind of asking herself what she did wrong, and just asking me 101 questions, and didn't approve. My dad doesn't approve, but he still accepts me. And since then, we have not talked about it. So it's been about 8 years, I would say, and we still have not discussed my sexuality. And I'm a little bit scared to bring it up at this point, just because I don't have a reason to. Because I'm not currently dating, so I don't have a reason to bring somebody home, or that would be the only reason why I would bring it up again. So I think it makes me feel. I think there's a piece that's missing, just because I do talk to my mom every day. I talk to my dad a lot, and I think there's a huge part of my life that they still don't know about. If something went on in a relationship, they don't know about this. So that's a whole side of me that they have no idea about, and they're supposed to know me more than anybody else. So I think it makes me feel sad to that extent. I think the time in Texas was definitely a time that I felt alone, because I didn't have my parents' support, and I was forced to. I had to move away from the person I was dating, and I didn't really have support around me from too many teammates. After undergrad, I went to graduate school at the University of Delaware, and I did not feel at home at all as far as my sexuality. And I think I tried to dress more masculine because of the fact that I didn't feel comfortable, to try to stick out more. But that was a time that I felt really alone, and I didn't have anybody to identify with, because I didn't find anybody on campus. And I was a graduate student, and being a graduate student, the dynamics is a lot different than undergrad. So you can't just walk into a classroom and find friends. You walk into a classroom and they're all, 35 to 40 years old, and, they have families and stuff. And so you kind of go to class, and then you go home and you go about your life. So I had a hard time finding people, people of color, and people that were gay, lesbian, to identify with. So the coach had sat me down, and he told me if I didn't change my lifestyle, then he was going to kick me off the team. And he gave me 3 weeks to do so. So in the 3 weeks, I did not break up with the person that I was dating. And afterwards, he said he warned me. So I lost my scholarship. He warned the other people on the team that if he saw them talk to her, then they too would be kicked off the team. And and then one of my teammates afterwards actually had a conversation with her, and he saw them, and he made her run like a mile with a medicine ball on her head, and it was just really, really intense. So it was definitely probably the hardest situation I had to go through, but there was no choice. I didn't feel like fighting that battle at that age. I was a freshman, and I had my whole college career in front of me, and I would have kind of jeopardized my whole college career in basketball and academics to fight this battle. And even though I think it's an important battle to fight, I don't believe that an 18-year-old kid should be fighting it alone. If I didn't stick it out, I would have missed my whole life, honestly, because I feel like I did not start living until after that situation. I saw light at the end of the tunnel. I definitely feel at home here in Boston. I'm happy right now, as far as who I am, as far as my sexuality, as far as acceptance, as far as things that are going on. I think it only brought me to be a stronger person. I was always very passive, and I'm still a little bit passive, but I think that it, in the end, was the best thing that's happened to me just because it helped me grow. And I guess if I were to say anything to anybody out there, it would be to stick it out, because situations are unfortunate and everybody goes through something, but it only gets better if you take what you learn from the situation, and you take into consideration how many people really do go through the same things and how many people really do want you around. And I think I realized that after the fact, because I went through a hard time after that situation, but it did get a lot better for me. It gets better.